Some stories weren't written just to be read. They were written to be lived, felt, and never forgotten. Imagine for a moment, you're standing in a barren field, the sky heavy and dark, no direction in sight. Everything around you feels desolate, void of life, purpose, or hope. But suddenly, a breeze stirs, a spark ignites, a voice whispers your name. That's what the Bible does. It's not just a book, it's a map, a lighthouse, a sword. It's God's whisper amid the chaos. It's fire in the heart of the broken. It's solid ground for those teetering on the edge of collapse. Every story in the scriptures carries more than a plot. They carry keys to doors many believe will never open. Keys that unlock faith in the grip of fear, hope in the midst of pain, purpose in the shadow of loss. And so today, we're diving into the 10 most transformative stories in the Bible, not as mere listeners, but as warriors seeking direction, as children hungry for God's presence, as hearts ready for transformation. You might be walking through a valley right now. Maybe you're weary from waiting, battling anxiety, crying in silence, wrestling with questions that have no answers. But hear this, you're not the only one, and you're not alone. The Bible is filled with people like you, real people with real struggles, touched by a real God. Moses faced a sea and an army at his back, but he saw the waters part. Job lost everything, yet found in God all he needed. David was overlooked, hunted, betrayed, yet toppled giants with a stone and faith. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were thrown into the furnace, but God stepped into the flames with them. Esther rose with courage and saved a nation. Noah built when everyone scoffed and survived when the waters rose. Each story is a reminder the God who did still does. So if your heart feels heavy today, if your spirit is exhausted, if you're on the brink, get ready. Because as you hear these 10 stories, you won't just meet biblical characters. You'll see yourself in them. You'll see yourself in every desert, every battle, every dark night. But you'll also see yourself in the victory, the restoration, the new beginning, and more than that, you'll remember that your God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. If he was faithful to them, he will be faithful to you. God doesn't write ordinary stories. He writes testimonies of overcoming, rebirth, and eternal purpose. And the next story he's writing could be yours. So take a deep breath. Quiet the outside noise. Focus your mind. Open your heart and come with me on this journey, because the 10 most impactful stories in the Bible are about to do something in you that no motivational video could ever do alone. Awaken the faith that conquers the world. The story of Joseph. Your dream didn't die, it's on hold. Genesis 37-50. Have you ever had a dream that felt too big for your reality? A longing in your heart, a promise you believed came from God. But instead of getting closer, everything around you started to crumble. If so, you'll understand exactly what Joseph of Egypt went through. Joseph had a calling. In a dream, he saw himself in a position of leadership, with a life of extraordinary purpose. But what followed wasn't fulfillment. It was the opposite. He was sold by his own brothers, falsely accused, imprisoned for a crime he didn't commit, forgotten by those who promised to help. Pause and reflect with me. How many times have you trusted a vision God gave you only for circumstances to make it feel like you're completely off track? But here's the truth. Joseph teaches us, just because God gave you a dream doesn't mean the path to it will be easy. It means that even through twists and turns, he's still guiding you. Joseph's story reveals a powerful principle. Pain doesn't cancel the promise. The process doesn't void the purpose. And the waiting season isn't wasted time, it's preparation time. Joseph was shaped in prison to rule in the palace. Before leading a nation, he had to learn to lead himself. Before feeding thousands, he had to endure hunger. Before being honored, he had to face humiliation. And Here's where this story hits home in a practical way. Many are frustrated with God because they confused the timing of the dream with the timing of its fulfillment. But between the promise and the fulfillment lies a valley called process. In that valley, God is forging your character, strengthening your faith, and refining your identity. What's even more striking, Joseph never stopped being faithful. Even when wronged, he worked with excellence. Even when abandoned, he kept his heart pure. Even when forgotten, he kept trusting. And when the right time came, God's time, not his, the door opened. Not a small door, not a timid blessing, but the fulfillment of a dream bigger than he could have ever imagined. From slave to governor of Egypt, from rejected to a channel of salvation for his entire family. From dreamer to fulfiller of purpose. Now apply this to your life. Maybe you feel betrayed like Joseph. Maybe your current season feels unfair, senseless, stagnant. Maybe you're trying to make sense of God's silence. But today, I want to remind you what feels like delay might be protection. What feels like rejection might be redirection. What feels like an ending might be the soil where God plants your new beginning. Romans 8:28 says, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him." If you love God, even what hurts you now is weaving into a greater plan. Joseph's lesson: God doesn't misguide the path. God doesn't delay the promise. And God never forgets those who stay faithful, even at rock bottom. Hold on tight. The palace might be closer than you think. David and Goliath: you don't need to be big, you just need to believe. 1 Samuel 17. Everyone, at some point, faces a giant. Sometimes it doesn't wear armor, wield a spear, or roar on a battlefield like Goliath did, but it shows up as debt, illness, anxiety, depression, rejection, unemployment, grief, or even a shattered self-image. And like Israel's soldiers, most people look at their giant and feel small, incapable, afraid. The mistake isn't seeing the giant, it's forgetting who's fighting with you. David was a teenager, a shepherd, with no military training. But he carried something none of Israel's soldiers seemed to have that day: courage born of faith. While everyone fixated on the size of the problem, David focused on the size of God. Here's the first practical takeaway: you don't need to be the strongest, the most experienced, or the most prepared. You just need to be the most confident in God. David's faith wasn't loud, it was resolute, practical, simple. He didn't wear the king's armor. He didn't try to seem stronger than he was. He simply trusted what God had already trained him for when no one was watching. The same sling and stones he used to protect sheep became the tools of his public victory. This teaches us something vital. Everything you need to defeat your giant, you already have. You just need to trust the one who gave it to you. In real life, your Goliaths might scream every day, "You'll never pay off that debt. This marriage is beyond repair. You're not enough. You'll never be healed. You'll always be this way." But here's where your choice comes in. Will you listen to the problem's roar or to God's voice? David heard the giant's taunts, but responded with conviction. "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty." 1 Samuel 17:45. That's the posture that turns battles. Around not denying the problem, but declaring a God bigger than it. So, how do you apply this practically? In your work routine. If you feel pressured, criticized, or unseen, enter the battle like David. Do your best as if it's for God. Declare, "I'm not alone in this office. God fights for me." In your mental health, if anxiety or fear tries to paralyze you, remember, you may feel small, but you carry an infinite God within. Face one day at a time with courage. In your family, maybe problems are piling up, arguments, distance, lack of direction. But like David, declare, "I won't back down. I'll pray, I'll believe, I'll act." In your dreams, it might feel too late, like no one believes in you. But like David, you don't need everyone's approval. You need the conviction that God chose you. Psalm 27:1 says, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear?" This isn't just a pretty phrase. It's a spiritual shield against everything trying to stop you. Got giants? We all do. But if you have faith, determination, and remember who's with you, they will fall. Because ultimately, David's victory wasn't over Goliath. It was over fear, and every time you face fear with faith, you win, even before the stone flies. Today, choose to be like David, steadfast, even when no one believes, brave, even when you feel small, full of faith, even in the face of the impossible. The giant may be tall, but God is greater, and when He's with you, no battle is lost. The promises endure. Now it's your turn. Throughout this video, we've journeyed through stories that have echoed across generations. Stories written with blood, sweat, tears, courage, and faith. Each one carries an eternal message, because the Bible isn't a collection of ancient tales. It's a mirror. It reflects our fears, our struggles, our dreams. But above all, it reflects the presence of a God who never changes. You heard about Noah, who built an ark when no cloud darkened the sky. About Abraham, who climbed a mountain to sacrifice what he loved most, trusting God would provide. About Joseph, betrayed, sold, forgotten, yet faithful until God raised him up. About Esther, who risked her life for a greater purpose. About David, who felled giants not with strength, but with faith, and so many others who chose to trust, even when everything screamed, "Give up." But now, the story that matters is yours. The question isn't whether God still performs miracles. The question is, are you ready to trust? Because the same God who parted the sea for Moses, the same God who protected Daniel in the lion's den, the same God who raised Lazarus from the dead, He hasn't changed. Hebrews 13:8 declares, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. He still turns broken stories into powerful testimonies. He still lifts ordinary people to do extraordinary things. And maybe He's calling you right now. Yes, you who think it's too late. You who believe you're out of strength. You who've lost faith in yourself, but still have a flicker, however small, burning inside. That flicker is hope, and God only needs a spark to reignite a blaze of purpose within you. So I'm extending a direct, heartfelt invitation. Choose to live like someone who believes. The Bible is still being fulfilled, not as a spectator of ancient miracles, but as a participant in today's promises. Start with small steps. Pick one of these stories that moved you today. Meditate on it. Ask, what is God teaching me through this? Pray based on that lesson, and above all, act with faith. The Bible only changes the lives of those who choose to walk on it. Don't wait to feel ready. David didn't. Don't wait to have all the resources. Noah had only wood and obedience. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Joseph was promoted in chaos. Don't wait for everyone to understand you. Esther had to decide alone. Wait for just one thing, God's move, and it's already begun. Maybe today your story is still in the painful part, the betrayal, the waiting, the desert, the fear, but that's not the end. It's just the chapter that will make your victory. It means so much more, remember this. Every tear will be used by God as a seed for purpose. Every loss will be transformed into growth. Every weight will bloom in its appointed time. Every struggle will carry eternal meaning if you keep going. So take a deep breath, lift your head, and say to yourself, my story doesn't end here. God is writing something greater. His promises never fail. I'm part of His plan. I'm called, chosen, and equipped. I'm a living witness that faith still moves mountains. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future." Is this the end? No. This is the new beginning. Now it's up to you. Choose a story. Live that faith, share that truth, and one day when someone asks, "How did you overcome all that?" you'll smile and say, "Because I believe the God of the Bible was my God too." See you in the next video. Until then, stay steadfast, because the word never fails. May God bless you powerfully.